Welcome back on Laughing Museums, but I'm not in the office. I found a new office again. Alright, ready for it? Maybe just after the jingle. Wait for it. So welcome back, I'm Cedric. Thank you so much for watching Laughing Museums one more time. Sorry for my outfit, but I'm really high in the mountain. I hope you have a bit of a view of what is behind that. I'm gonna put a bit of a video extra at the end with nothing but the landscape from a nice spot like this one. I was climbing, and before I left this morning for doing a little hike, I'm actually literally on a mountain that I can see from my apartment, and I just love it. I love the fact that I can get out of my house and literally walk to that mountain. That's absolutely brilliant, and that's a chance, and that's something you should do if you have a mountain or anywhere to go walking. Anyhow, we're not here to talk about me, and I was reading some notes on The Prince by Machiavel. I never really like that book. I never really got that book, and I never realized that Machiavel and Da Vinci probably talked or were together. They were both evolving in the Medici kind of entourage. And yes, that's the mountain, and there's helicopters. Thank God, you never know what can happen in those mountains, of course. And because they were in the same entourage, they were really in the Medici time. Then the Medici were banned from Firenze. Then the Medici got back. Julien got murdered. There's many novels about that. I forgot the name of one. I tried to look for it. Maybe I'll put it here if I find the one I read in this one. It was really like a very super simple kind of novel, history fiction, but honestly, wow. First, there's a lot of sex in it, which is great. Talking about Emma Thompson, and she made a movie where she had to do a nude, and she was saying how she was uncomfortable, and the journalists keep asking about that and that and that, and she said something about the fact that she told the journalists, go just go like this in front of your mirror and just do nothing and tell me how it feels. And I thought, wow, this is just brilliant. The human body is fantastic because we have many qualities, but we're lacking a few. We're lacking a few. For example, if you do like Emma Thompson is saying, like this in your mirror, only a few of us will look fantastic. Most of us will look average, and most of us will look quite poorly, right? It's not really about beauty, it's more about aesthetic, right? Take a horse. It's just, naturally beautiful aesthetic. I don't like the word beautiful because beauty is more is a complex word in art. So take this horse, it's perfect, right? Take the human being, not so much, right? You don't believe me? You can do that experience with a banana, right? And read that book by that dude named Darwin. Yeah, you see where I'm going with that, as we're probably coming from the close family of chimps or monkeys and stuff like that at one point, right? Whatever is the family we come from, clearly aesthetic is not something that has been, my chair is literally falling, so I'm trying to reinstall. The point is, that is why aesthetic became really something we had to think about, okay? And that is why people like Polykleitos with the canon came up with that idea of the contrapposto. I talked about that in other videos for sure, right? But what interests me with that thing said by Emma Thompson, it made me think about the Mona Lisa. Why the Mona Lisa? Because Da Vinci, because it's a tough painting to understand. It took me really a long time to understand that painting, or at least to get closer, to get something from that painting. So just one thing about the Mona Lisa, 80% of the people who come to the Louvre admit they come for her, the Mona Lisa. And by my experience, I can tell you 50% of the guests I'm taking to the Mona Lisa, and we're talking 15 years of experience at the tour guide, 50% at least are disappointed by the Mona Lisa. They think it's too small. Yeah, I have many jokes on that, but I don't want to get in there. They think it's just, okay, what's going on, what's happening, and that's the thing, not much is happening, and that's where probably the genius of Da Vinci is. Why? Because before that, we're talking just a few years back, so really the late Quattrocento, Mona Lisa was ordered around 1504, so really the first years of the Cinquecento. People used to represent themselves like on this one, Enguerrand Carton. This is Pietà of Avignon, which is in the Louvre. And I just came back from Avignon. I saw his other work, which is mind-blowing. I'm going to do a video on that very soon. And in the comfort of my office this time. But I mean, come on, look at that place, honestly. Next thing you know is that... So you represent yourself with a Christ on the cross, a Pietà like this one, a mother and child, a virgin with the angel, stuff like that, you know. So representing yourself with literally nothing is just new, avant-garde, modern, whatever you call it, right? It's never been done before. It's been done only a few times. One of the most famous example is probably from the Netherlands, the guy who invented who came up with the oil technique painting, and that's a portrait of the man with the turban by Van Eyck. I'm also doing an entire chapter of my book on painting on that man with a turban, which might be a self-portrait. It's fascinating painting. And so it's the problem with the Mona Lisa is like we all have a cell phone in our pockets nowadays, so just take a second to take exactly that same picture, right? This said, the truth is making the photography portrait of someone is not that easy as a photographer, and I'm not even talking as a painter, right? So what interests me is the fact that taking that portrait naturally was quite tough. Now, what is a natural portrait? Natural, then you see the word is very complex. Natural, again, it's us naked in the bathroom looking in the mirror like, oh boy, you know. So that's natural. And think about the horse always like, wow, that's natural, and that's something is happening, either you want it or not, right? So the next thing you do is the portrait. We're focusing on the portrait now. What interests me, but the problem is kind of the same. Like, how do you make the portrait look good? Again, there's the 1% of the world population that is just naturally good looking, and then there's nothing you can do about that. But let's say for the most of us, you have to do, but even for the 1% good looking, you still have to do something to create an emotion, to, I don't know, make something happen, right? And for that, we got two problems. Problem number one, if you take the face, right? That's, for example, the Fayum portraits, most of them, which are showing some time, and I made a video on that the face is asymmetric. That means we don't have the same, it's not symmetrical. And so if you make it from the face, then very quickly you're gonna realize that it's not gonna be very good looking, right? Plus you lose the nose, right? Well, not when you got a nose my size, but for most people who've got regular noses, right? So if you do the portrait, right? If you do the portrait like this, and we got this example, I'm gonna put there, very famous example of the Louvre, fantastic painting by Piero della Francesca. It took us a long time to get that portrait, long story. In that fantastic portrait, which is great and inspired a French movie, kind of same shot as well. I love when cinematographer work from art history. I think it's a great idea. Well, it's great, but it's giving kind of a medieval touch for sure, right? Because, well, we all look kind of weird. We mostly look kind of weird from a profile, and I got a fantastic profile picture taken from a friend of mine, and I will never thank him enough for that, right? So the thing with the portrait, so in between you have that. Oh, just one thing about the profile. It can cost you your life because it cost the life of Louis the 16th. That's why he got caught in Varennes when he was trying to flee from Paris during the French Revolution, because his profile was on every single coin in the kingdom, and that's what make him realize. People say, "Oh, that's actually the king," right? So that's why they have to find something in between, which is we call the three-quarter, right? So this kind of position the Mona Lisa is having, right? What interests me with that position is that, and I'm going to put the Mona Lisa right there, of course. What interests me with that position is that you have the feeling, first you see a little bit of the nose, you're losing that non-symmetrical problem because they're not at the same depth. So that is interesting, of course. You have the nose a little bit, but not too much of it, right? And then you got shadows as well. And shadows in the history of painting, you have to read Matisse about that. That's the history of painting right here. It's funny because I updated my phone Android system this morning, and they do those robots, this intelligence they put in this phone, they erase shadows. I'm like, what? Why? I mean, so you can actually choose your shadows. I'm sure like photographers would have loved this kind of painters would have loved this kind of thing before, if it was exist. My point being, like, when you do this kind of thing, you have the feeling the portrait is like just, like just you call her Mona up, and she's surprised, and that's why you got this expression of someone almost moving the body, which is giving movement, and something is happening at that time, and that's why I love the fact that the Mona Lisa. So that's number one, right? Before that, they also represented themselves, and that will be true almost until the 19th century. You have the three themes, which are Oriental, Biblical, Mythological, right? And in the back of the Mona Lisa, almost nothing is happening, and that nothing is very important. Why? First, look at the outfit. Why? She's wearing that extra piece of cloth on the left shoulder, and that is very interesting. Why? Because it's inspired from the extra piece of clothes the emperors of Rome used to wear. So by wearing that in the Senate, they were symbolizing the function of Emperor of Rome. So by putting that on the Mona Lisa, maybe Da Vinci elevated her at the rank of Empress, either of beauty or just Empress of that Firenze, Italy, because her husband Del Giocondo, her name was Lisa Gherardini, her husband Del Giocondo was in the import-export business. Apparently he was not very good at it, and because he was not so good at it, there was he was asking the other dude to fix the prices, and if they refused, he was roughing them up a little bit. Yes, a little criminal organization, which I heard is still going on in some countries. I'm shocked. I know. So, as I'm losing my chair doing that video, but that's okay. What interests me is, so that could be also to elevate her as the importance of that girl, and also because she was around 25, she got 5 kids already, lost 2, that the second boy was a boy and a girl left behind. And what I love about that is really the fact that, how do I say that? You're trying to put really some nobility into that. He also hired like people to make her laugh, to make her smile. Ergo, maybe that smile, which is from Giocondo, maybe from a Latin root of joy. So smiling, because when you have a name with your signification close to joy, that makes sense. Or maybe because you got that second boy, which is something you celebrate back in the early 16th century in Firenze, Italy. So and then the background. There's nothing in the background. Like, it's almost a pre-human, a pre-human landscape, right? Nothing but rocks and water, and one exception, a little bridge right there, which is hidden. But that bridge has been considered had time passing by. It's funny because as I was reading The Prince by Machiavelli this morning, I was telling you there's a lot of metaphors about the water passing by, the conduct of a river, and how a government should be should conduct itself. But that bridge is supposed to be a symbol of the time passing by, and also Da Vinci was an architect and he loved the configuration of buildings, and he targeted himself to Ludovico Sforza that he could change the course of a river. So there's both the intelligence of human beings, how civilization were built, definitely through the making of bridges. So there's nothing per se, no human beings, no animals, no swarms. There's supposed to be swarms in the Santa Ana. Never saw it, but apparently they're there in the rocks down there. There's no butterflies like in this beautiful painting, but still it means something. And the theory of mine, but mostly a lot of great art historians, but I quote a few of them, is that it's kind of an Eva Prima Pandora, my favorite painting by Jean Gousin for a very, very, very long time, and a fantastic profile, super Greek kind of profile per se, a very mind-blowing painting. Eva Prima Pandora, Eve, of course, Pandora, the box, opening with all the worst thing in the world, right? And it's a metaphor of the text in the Bible, Adam and Eve, do not eat the fruit of knowledge, and of course they eat the fruit of knowledge. It's funny, whatever kind of original text, mythological text you read about the origin of human beings, it's always kind of a mistake, and it's funny because always something wrong is happening, right? It could be like in the Bible, so they eat the wrong fruit. I had another example. In the Greek, it's Prometheus, and then he had to steal fire from the gods, stuff like that, and then etc. So always some, because men were not finished per se, and had no talent, so they had to have the creativity to have the famous techne, the Aristotle's name for art, by the way, and that is why this landscape is very interesting, because I think making like always this kind of rocks only kind of landscape is really a strong message by Da Vinci, that women were kind of all sort of Eve, or his fantastic Maria in Santa Anna, or even the figure of the Virgin of the rock, stuff like that, right? I think it's clearly, I don't like to do that, but related to his own biography. Remember, he was an illegal kid, probably spent 5 years with mother, and then was taken away from his mother, and then only saw his mother again in his old age. It's a rough biography, but you find all this in the fantastic book by Isaacson. And so that's mostly what this portrait Mona Lisa is all about. Of course, I can tell you many things that you already know. So that's little thoughts after looking at that painting and taking people to see that painting for 15 professional years of mine. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Cedric. You are watching Laughing Museums. If you enjoy these videos, please like, subscribe, ring the bells, go out, yell the name of laughingmuseums.com, whatever. But most important, no matter what you do, if you're not doing it with a smile, well, you might be doing it wrong. So go into museum, smile at what you like, and pass in front of what you don't like, because if it doesn't resonate with you, watch my video on the Nietzschean hammer theory. And you guys have a good one, and we'll see you on the next one. You guys take care.